Hello everybody and welcome along to our live coverage from Sebring of the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. It's the Alan J Automotive Network 120. Cars are on the warm-up lap at the moment. John Hinoff and Jeremy Shaw in the booth. Shea Adam and Nick Damon as our BDA pit lane crew. And it's a hot day, 30 degrees in the air, 26 on the track. That's 86 Fahrenheit in the air and 79 on the pit lane. What's interesting to me is that although we've had sunshine all day, that light-coloured concrete doesn't quite absorb the sunshine as it might. You're just joining us on the World Feed TV. Welcome along. We're on 100.9 FM here at Sebring International Raceway and RS2 around the world. If you're outside the US and listening to us now, you can get us. Go to imsaradio.com, and on the top left-hand side, there's a live video tab, and you could be watching the same pictures we had. We're right in the central part of Florida with a 3 3/4 mile circuit. That, well, with the names there, Gurney and Fangio, the Ullman Straight, Champs-de-Bian Bend, Le Mans Turn, well, that reflects just how long this racetrack has been active and the kind of history that we've seen here down through the years. Not only in endurance racing, although that, of course, is what we are majoring on this weekend and concentrating on, but it was the first Formula One Grand Prix of the US that was run on this historic concrete. Cars are rolling. If you weren't with us in our countdown to green, it's Jesse Lazar for Motorsport in action for the McLaren Artura GT4 on pole position. Championship contenders Stephen McAleer paired with Trent Hinman for RS1 on the outside of the front row. Paul Holton has replaced Owen Trinkler for Team TGM. Got some news from Owen. I know he'll be listening and watching. In the Aston Martin Vantage, then it'll be Paul Holton in the number 46. Today's competition, Josh Green in the 78 on row number 2. And it's Rory van der Steur in the Aston Martin starting the number 19 for Mackay Stevens in the 34 for JMF Motorsports. In TCR, what a cracking scrap we had in qualifying there. They will start behind all 26 of the GS cars, regardless of whether they qualified any quicker. And it'll be Harry Gottsacker for Brian Herter Automotive in the Hyundai Elantra, who takes pole position from Chris Miller. That was a tight battle between the 33 and the 17 cars. The yellow and black Unitronic JDC Miller Motorsports Audi then right in amongst the hordes of Hyundais, with Mason Filippi and Tyler Hagler in respectively the 98 and 77 TCRs from Brian Herter Autosport following behind. Then there's a couple of Hondas from Montreal Motorsport Group and Hart. Steve Ike, who celebrated a birthday earlier on this week, will start the red, white and black number 89.
So too, that was yesterday. The day before, both Bryce Ward and Robert McGuinness, excuse me, had birthdays recently. Yes, it was Robbie Wickens, that's right. And what day are we now? Friday. So that was Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right. Everything's gelling into a whole bunch of March birthdays in Michelin Pilot Challenge.
So we have 2 hours on the clock. It's gone eerily quiet here on the start-finish line as the 40-car field is over at the far side of the circuit and heading towards the closest part of the track to the airfield as they come down towards turn 30. That is Tower Turn, and beyond that, if you kept on going, you'd be on the airfield runways proper. And they'll start to form up when they get onto the Ullman Straight, which is a couple of corners away. The Cadillac safety car will pull away. Well, actually, it is a pace car at the moment. If it returns, it will be the safety car. And then it will be down to the front row to sort things out. We are back to our usual 2 hours. The clue is in the name of the Alan J Automotive Network 120. And that just slightly changes things. The TCR should be able to do that on 1 pit stop. It's probably 2, not necessarily 3 full stints for the GS cars, but 2 pit stops. That could change depending on if we see the safety car come back out. We have seen some extraordinarily good fuel saving here in the past. I remember Robin Liddell winning here when we all thought he surely had to pit in the old Camaro.
Yeah, the GS cars can generally run around about 50 minutes, but you can do a bit more than that if you're on fuel save. I mean, the 4-hour race at Daytona ended up being a thrilling battle to the finish with 52 minutes to go, and the winning car, Riley Dickinson, had to save 4 laps worth of fuel during that final 52 minutes. But here we are, all lined up, John.
And the green flag is in the air. The countdown has begun. The only car in the pit lane at the moment is the safety car. That's good to hear, and it's a clean break from the front of the field from the motorsport in action. McLaren coming under pressure, feels the need to defend. Jesse Lazar then to the middle of the road, going to turn 3, under pressure from Stephen McAleer as the TCRs scream past, and the Hyundai versus the Audi at the front of the field. Hyundai to the inside of the corner. That should get position through turn 1, and does. Smart move by Chris Miller just to drop straight in behind, and he's going to have to defend because Mason Filippi and Taylor Hagler are looking very racy there, and that's allowed the pole-sitting Hyundai of Harry Gottsager to pull away just a little bit at the front of the main field. The 2 front row starters, they've made a bit of a break for freedom as well. I think that's Josh Green for Thay's competition, who's up into 3rd. Yes, it is. Has just nipped ahead of Paul Holton. That was a great start from the youngster who is getting up to pace in that Thay's competition AMG GT4 Mercedes very quickly indeed. He's got Mark Miller helping him out, and he's been almost as quick as Mark from the off, actually. Very impressed with how he has taken to his work. Then it's the Van der Steur Racing Aston Martin in there as well. Decent start, I think. It is under review, which is standard operational practice. The green flag is out. I'm looking for anybody who's broken ranks and possibly outside of row 3. It was tight. That'll be a margin call. That was the Thay's car that slightly moved into the middle of the road down towards Sunset. End of the first lap. We wait for them to come round and make noise for us again here on the start-finish line. It should be Jesse Lazar leading from Stephen McAleer for the Porsches in 2nd. There they go across the line, then a little gap back to the number 78 of Josh Green. Paul Holton slots in behind for Team TGM. Waiting for the TCRs to come through. They're just coming round the final corner now. It's actually quite a big split for that split start. It's a decent lead for the number 33 of Harry Gottsager, the Hyundai, ahead of the Audi in 2nd, the black and yellow car. And they've spread out just a little bit, nice and tidily through turn 1 for the 2nd time of asking. It's Hyundai, Audi, Hyundai, Hyundai. And then Honda Civic of Steve Ike. And actually it's LP Monto who's got ahead of Steve Ike. It's the lighter coloured Honda, the white and yellow car ahead of the red, white and black machine from Honda, the Honda employees team.
Yeah, who are running the older Honda Civic, the FK5, the new FL7, oh, it's FK7, isn't it, and FL5,
Yeah.
confusing that. The newer car, though, is run by Louis-Philippe Montour in that car number 6, the white car from Montreal Motorsports Group.
Very quiet in the pit
start,
lane.
that's always nice
Yeah,
to
very
see.
good. Nobody in the pit lane for our BDO pit lane reporters to have to report on. At IMSA Radio, if you'd like to say hello, whether you're watching or listening here at the track or further afield. RS2 around the world, 100.9 here at Sebring International Raceway. It's our feature race today, but not our final track action on Fast Friday. Still a couple of the manufacturer single make championships to come, and we'll round off today with the Porsche Carrera Cup North America running into, well, certainly the twilight. At 7:30 is sunset here, and we'll be running beyond that for a few minutes at least with the Porsches later on today. But for now, our concentration, as ever, is on a good battle in the TCR category, as the lead is being disputed. So I said there was a bit of a gap, but it's been a very good second lap by Chris Miller, who felt the opportunity was there to challenge down into turn 17. The long hairpin right-hander, it's a hairpin, but it's fast. Don't think of hard on the brakes and down to bottom gear there. You have to take a lot of pace into the first part. It's almost 2 separate corners. Termed on the track map is 17A and 17B. And that's absolutely correct. At the GS field, head down at turn 7 in front of the hotel. Much more traditional hairpin there through the S's now for our leader. And this is Jesse Lazare, who's ahead of Stephen McAlee. They've been joined by Josh Green and Paul Holton, who's just put the fastest lap of the race in. It was Frank Depew who's had a warning for start procedure, but a warning only in the Rebel Rock Racing Aston Martin Vantage. That is the Evo car, the only one in the race, sneakily used at Daytona in the camouflage livery before the road-going version of the car was even released to the world's press. It's absolutely brilliant that Aston Martin did that with Rebel Rock Racing, and they ran it in a zebra camouflage sort of colours. There's a bit of an agreement with the photographers that whilst they could certainly snap the car out on track, and they didn't publish any close-ups or detailed shots. And in fact, quite a lot of people, I don't think, even realised that that was the new body shape for the Vantage, the new Evo for the GT4 car. Battle for the lead again in TCR, onto the long Ullman straight, getting on for, in fact, just a little bit over half a mile. Huge amount of trucks and trailers parked. Just 2 drivers right there, 2 lanes of them to fit in all of the cars in our 4 series this weekend. Record number of cars and trailers here, well over 220 trailers, which if laid end to end, be almost a lap of the track, just over 3 and a bit miles.
Amazing, isn't it?
I was here, Jeremy, on Tuesday lunchtime when loading was happening. A time-lapse film of the paddock filling up would be really interesting to watch. It's absolutely balletic. It's a phenomenal job that Johnny Knotts and the rest of the team do to get everybody parked in the right places and at the right times. Bear in mind that the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship teams came in a day later because they started their week a day later, so they had to be accommodated as well into a paddock that was 2/3 already built. Record grids pretty much across the field in terms of the 40 cars here. High 50s in WeatherTech, 40 Porsches, 37 Lamborghinis and 30 Whelen Mazda MX-5s. That's a lot of cars. Even I don't have to even add that up to know that that's a lot of cars. A
lot of cars. It's so much fun walking all the way down the paddock there and seeing all of the teams there beavering away in the heat. But look, there's so much to see. There's so many people hanging around. Great to see some interesting characters in the paddock just this morning. Tom Anderson was there of Extra Fernandez Racing and Chip Ganassi Racing, of course, before that. And John Bright was over here, former crew chief for the Coca-Cola 962 back in the 80s.
$184 entries. I've done that in my head, so possibly I was wrong for that. Well, this is nice. This is what we like to see in the opening 10 minutes or so. Bit of battling going on. but I suspect there's also just a little bit of jabbing. Oh, we've got a slow Audi, and it is the bright orange number 55 for Eduardo Go and Go Racing. Well, the car, which is an absolute picture, I think he's got a right front puncture on that car. Yes, he has. Now he's having to bring that car better part of 2 miles around the circuit, doing a very good job. Did we think that was Lalo Father that started that that Go Audi?
I think so.
Go spelled G-O-U here, and no connection to G-O-H. Audi that was a privateer winner of Le Mans, if you remember, in the R8 prototype days. But nice for me to be able to say Go Audi again, even if it is spelt differently. So that car will tow around. Probably lose, might not lose the lead lap in its class.
Flailing away that tyre, isn't it?
He's driven very, very slowly, but it's just not playing ball on that right front. I mean, he's literally walking pace at the moment, and it's starting to flap around, and you can see some bodywork now being dislodged on those wide front arches of the Audi RS3 LMS TCR. That is one of the Evo cars as well. Meantime, the leaders have just gone through and crossed the line in front of Jeremy and I. Another fastest lap from Paul Holton that time around, as he's trying to hang on to the leaders. 2:12.153. Jesse Lazar, in fact, has just taken that fastest lap away. 2:12.071 on the 4th lap. Stephen McAleer is still in second. I tell you what, that is a heck of a job that Eduardo has done there. Pulls into the pit lane very, very slowly. This is the first customer then for our Michelin Pilot Challenge BDO pit lane team, and Nick Damon is at that end of things. I'll come to you in a second, Nick, because we've got the Core 59 Mustang off at turn number 7. That's Bob Michaelian, and the sound of the V8 as he shifts down through the box and continues. I'll just try and work out what happened there to Bob. He was in traffic. Oh, he got absolutely nailed by Paul Sparta in the Random Vandals BMW, to the point where I've got to wonder whether Paul had brake failure there, as he was trying to go down the inside from a different postal code to get down inside the big Ford.
We've had a few people having brake difficulties, actually, particularly in the Fords. They had them at St. Petersburg last weekend during the VP Racing Challenge Series as well, which is the same cars. They're running the GSX banner there, but and here is GS, but they're the same GT4 spec cars.
Yeah, that wasn't down to Bob there, I'm afraid. That was the BMW of Random Vandals who ushered him off the circuit. It would look that there's some damage though on that car as Bob's staying out of harm's way. Sorry, Nick, BDO pit lane report on that bright orange Go Audi.
Yeah, it was a pretty impressive job there to reduce the amount of damage to really just a little bit of behind the wheels, that kind of little aerodynamic kind of square box hole, a kind of flared arch. The bottom half of it has been taken off, but it's not affected the intrinsic strength of the wing. The team's refueled it, put a pair of new tyres on, and he's gone out. So he's lost 1.5 to 2 laps, but the car can live to fight another day.
Under review, that incident at turn 7, as you might imagine. I think there might be a toe link done on the right rear of that number 59 Core Racing Ford Mustang. Bob Michaelian bringing it back nice and slowly. Core Motorsports car dropping down. He was in the early 20s when that happened. It's already dropping down towards P30 with some of the TCR cars having gone past him as well. Let's get back to the lead while we're waiting for Bob to come into the pit lane. Jesse Lazare, having captured that fastest lap, has eked out, and I do mean eked out, a half a second lead on Stephen McAleer. I wonder if there's an element of tyre saving here as well going on in these early. The temperature continues to rise in the air, now 31 Celsius, 88 Fahrenheit, although the track temp remarkably stable, as it has been all week, around about the high 70s, 79 Fahrenheit is 26 Celsius. Shea Adam has her first caller and can give us her first BD or pit lane report.
Wow, Ford built these Mustangs really, really well. The back of the car is completely untouched. Let's see about the front, though. That's where the mechanics have gone to work. Specifically, the right front of the car. They are working on removing the wheel. There's no damage to the front of the car either, though, so curious as to what Bob might have been reporting. There's no damage to the car, as far as we can see. They are discussing, they're talking about maybe a suspension A-arm being, track bar is slightly askew, so they're gonna go to work on this Ford Mustang, and it'll be in here for a little while. Oh, there is a split in the carbon on one of the dive planes. That's about it. Random vandals, they are getting a penalty, as there is a green mark on the side of this car as evidence were needed.
That was Paul Sparta for the BMW. It will be a drive-through, assessed very quickly indeed by our hard-working race control. A little bit of trim hanging off the left rear of Paul's car, showing signs of close contact. And the random vandals, number 92, that bright green and white car, are on the lane now to answer that drive-through and serve it. And the irony is that it will pass the car that it made contact with and actually puts a lap on it. So you've got to say, yes, that is a righteous penalty. However, he's put someone else in the pit lane. I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, saying anything other than, is that enough? And, you know, there'll be people watching who say no. Been a spin out on the circuit for the newly liveried number 71. This is the very lovely dark green, and are we going to call that orange? Oh, and also off as well, the number 6 Honda. Now that was running well up at the sharp end, 5th position for the TCR car. The Rebel Rock Racing number 71, as I say, had a little spin in that dark green and orange. Looks absolutely a picture, having run that zebra camouflage at Daytona. There was some thought of keeping that because it was quite popular. They've gone to a very lovely and sophisticated looking livery. Let's catch up with the TCR lead battle as Sean McAllister's just put in the fastest lap of the race for BMW in 6th position in his M4. And now is danger time for the leader in TCR, because they are catching up with the back of the GS field. So Harry Gottsacker now has the Toyota of Amir Halim, the CDR Valkyrie number 66, right in front of him as he comes through the final corner. Is this the opportunity for the Audi to come through? Chris Miller pulls alongside, gets his nose ahead, beautiful slingshot out of the final corner and takes the lead. Used the traffic perfectly well there. I think Harry thought maybe the Toyota would be a little bit quicker and decided to get underneath the rear wing coming out of 17, see if he could get a draft, and it didn't work for him. And with just on 9 minutes gone, there's a new leader in TCR, and it is the Unitronic JDC yellow and black number 17 Audi. Traffic assisted, but beautifully planned and executed by Chris Miller.
Just looking at lap times for our leader, Jesse Lazar, super consistent. The last several laps, 2 minutes 12.0, 2:12.3, 2:12.1, 2:12.2, 2:12.1. That's just really nice. I mean, he hasn't had much of a lead, but he's sort of controlling the pace thing out the front there, and Stephen McAleer is matching him for time, as is Josh Green in 3rd position. Paul Holton slipping back just a little bit now, last 4 or 5 laps in 2 or 3 tenths of a second per lap. And he's running a very similar pace to Mackay Stevens in a JMF Mercedes that is behind him in 5th position. Behind Mackay Stevens is the number 39 car of Sean McAllister, got past Rory van der Steur last time around and immediately pulled away from him. Wow. In fact, McAllister just set the fastest lap of the race.
It's an interesting battle at the front of the field between McLaren, Porsche, Mercedes, Aston, Mercedes, BMW, Aston, Ford Mustang with Jensen Altsman for McCumbee Michelin Racing in 8th in the number 13. Then another BMW, Francis Zeltorf in 9th, and Michael McCarthy for Kelly Moss with Riley in 10th position. So a good variety of car manufacture in the top 10. Well, Chris Miller, since he took the lead with that fabulous manoeuvre last time around, has rather made a break for the hills, unusually. He's pulled out 3/4 of a second there over Harry Gottsager, and he got most of that in the first half of the lap after he passed the Hyundai. So the Liqui Moly Audi coming up to turn 3 now, and more traffic will be Frank Depew in the 71 Rebel Rock Racing Aston that he comes across next. And it's not too far either before he's got the Go Audi as well, the bright orange car, the number 55. That Rebel Rock car in the sunshine. It's a beautifully metallic, dark metallic green. And it really sparkles in the sunshine. I like the colour choice of the highlight lines and the lipstick around the front of the air intake. Bright reddy orange colour. Leader of the race, fractured just for a moment. Jesse Lazar just holding that half a second or so lead to Stephen McAleer in 2nd, and he's got roughly the same gap to 3rd place, the number 78 of Josh Green for Thay's competition.
Yeah, and then I said that Paul Holter was slipping back a little bit. Well, he had been, but on the last lap he just turned his best lap of the race, and only the 2nd driver to get underneath 2 minutes 12. He turned a 2:11.9 on the previous lap. This lap, though, a 12.5. Dropped back a little bit from that leading trio, but still nothing to choose between them, really. Another consistent lap for our leader, Jesse Lazar, 2 minutes 12.7. So, 2.7. So that's beautiful consistency at the front there, and McAleer able to run with him, but not really able to challenge at this stage. And at this stage, with a long way to go in this race, there's not much point in challenging and risking anything. Just stay right there. The pit stops should be good for the Porsche and that RS1 team. They come into this weekend really confident, with Stephen McAleer will hand over that car to Trent Hinman, a former series champion, and they reckon they're in good shape.
Just in case you're wondering, as you can probably hear the sound of the Honda 2-litre 4-cylinder engine in the background of Steve Ike, who is just coming through the final corner now. He did mention Paul Holton for Team TGM in the Aston Martin Vantage. In for Owen Trinkler. He has sent us a message. Owen, hope you're feeling better soon. He says, I miss being at Daytona, I'm still hurting, but the incident at Daytona in December has broken me in so many ways, physically, emotionally, and possibly financial pain all at the same time. I feel a lot of love and support from the paddock at Sebring this week. If this is how my career is to end, it's on my terms, and I've been very proud of what I've accomplished in the sport. It's nothing official, but I'm happy, and I never thought possible to do what we did with no funding to start in the sport. 191 starts in IMSA Michelin prototype challenge. A record for someone to go after.
It's an incident down there at the hairpin.
And it is the 57 car that has gone around for Bryce Ward. And that's at the moment, has he continued? The 21 was in there as well, Jake Pedersen for Reardon Racing. And we stay green. It'll be reviewed.
Mackay Stevens came into the pits out of the 5th position in kind of a 34.
Yeah, Bryce is moving, but slowly. I think that is a wounded number 57. Come to the pit stops in a moment. Just want to finish off from Owen Trinkler. He said, I fought so hard to be at Daytona. I'm hurting every day right now, and my life has changed forever. I love the people around me so much and everyone who's cared for me during this traumatic time. Thanks for the memories, Owen. I hope it's not the last time we see you at a racetrack. Owen, we wish you all the best. Genuine love and support coming from everyone here at IMSA Radio. You've been a great friend to us down through the years, and you're welcome in our booth anytime. You know that. So there's going to be a drive-through penalty for Jake Pedersen and Reardon Racing. Incident responsibility with Bryce Ward, who is continuing with a flat tyre. Nick Damon had a pit caller. Here's our BDO pit lane report.
Yeah, it was the 34, the JMF Motorsports Mercedes AMG GT4. Complete set of tyres, a lovely slug of fuel, but driver stayed on board. So obviously they have decided it's gone green this long. They will need to do 2 stops to get the first one out of the way. Yeah, minimum time 40, so they haven't quite got there yet. So,
Yeah, 40 minutes is the minimum driver time. So we're still, what, 13, 14 minutes away from that. Welcome to a new team. That is the StarCam number 21 machine. That's the 12 machine, rather. StarCam fibre machine. The yellow and black, as Bryce Ward is into the pit lane and pulls up next to our BDO pit lane reporter, Shea Adam.
Right rear tire, as was noted. There is some bodywork damage to this Mercedes as well, as the under tray panel is hanging off the right side. It's sort of the side skirt area. Hopefully that'll stay. They've got some very, very good duct tape. So good that they can't actually get it started off the roll, but they're trying to make sure that they can get that loose and maybe just keep that side skirt in place. They would really rather not tear it off and perhaps risk damaging the car further. Still changing that right rear tire. Refueling is done. Tire has been firmly reattached to the car. Let's see, this one does have all of its air in it though, so it's far more useful to Bryce. Just the single sticker tire, by the way, and a lot of tape. Let's hope the side skirt stays on. Come on, Windward guys, you guys are good at this. I have faith in the Texas-based team, but they are struggling to try and get the pieces of tape off.
Thank you, Shea. The number 12 StarCom fibre machine still running around in that bright yellow and black colourway. Michelin Pilot Challenge. I think I said Michelin Prototype Challenge when I was talking about Owen. Record number of starts that he has in this championship. Nick Damon has more.
Just that the aggressor in the incident with the women racing would say that's come in and served his drive-through. So that's all square, but again, he's gone past the person he took off the track.
Thank you, Nick. Archangel Motorsports, Todd Coleman, the green number 88 Aston Martin, with a problem to the left rear of that car, and he's pulling off at turn number 5. And there's fire to the left, right, all the way underneath the car. At the moment, there's fluid coming out, and it's a full course yellow. I can see something leaking under there. Brake fluid is very, very inflammable, and it's the grass that's caught on fire underneath the car as well. Driver is out of the car. Black smoke coming out from underneath would suggest maybe oil or gearbox fluids. Yellow flag out, and the AMR safety team are already there. Hands on hips for Todd Coleman.
He's had no luck, Todd Coleman. I mean, whatever can go wrong seems to be going wrong for him. Same last weekend in the VP series as well. They had a crash, I think, in one of the races.
So, whilst all that was happening, by the way, Harry Gottsacker got back into the lead of TCR.
Yes, he did on the previous lap, you're right.
And that was traffic assisted. Yeah, we say traffic gives, traffic takes away. Well, this time it was Chris Miller. So he was trying to go past the Go Audi, went a little bit wide through turn 13.
That's Aston.
That Aston was already with a little bit of fluid coming out of it. This is the car that's at the side of the road, Todd Coleman's Archangel Motorsport. And that set the events in motion that allowed the number 33 Hyundai to go through and retake the lead. Lost it in traffic, got it back in traffic. As you were then from the start of the race with Harry Gottsacker, our pole sitter in TCR, back leading his category from Chris Miller as we're under our first safety car.
Yeah.
And sadly, that number 88 car of Archangel Motorsport and Todd Coleman. Todd ruefully looking back at the green and black machine. Out of the car, helmet off, did exactly the right thing. As soon as he realised there was flame, pulled off the circuit and headed for one of the marked areas where there are extinguishers. They are noted on the circuit map and designated with red on the walls so that drivers know. Did a great job. We're going to do the pass around, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's unfortunate for Todd Coleman, of course. Aaron Telitz was supposed to be sharing that car with him, and Aaron's been really fast during the practice sessions as well, so he was super excited to be sharing that car with Todd Coleman today. Unfortunately, he's going to have to wait another day to do that. And yeah, will be any cars that are trapped in between, well, any TCR cars that are in between the safety car and the class leader, which, as you said, is now again number 33 car of Harry Gottsacker. They can go on around. I think the number 55 car was the only car that might have been just ahead of them. So he'd lost 2 laps with that early puncture. So this should enable him to regain one of those lost laps, because I think he was just ahead. I might be wrong. I think he was just ahead of the lead. So he won't pick up a lap, but he won't lose another lap. Let's put it that way.
Bryce Ward and the Winward 57 car, after that incident, has had to go behind the wall. Adam?
Something is broken within the right rear suspension, unfortunately. The crew have taken the car back to the garage, but remember, they came into today's race second in the championship, so it's really, really hurting a little bit more for that entire organization. Pits are now open for the GS cars, and we are going to have takers. They're on the wall for the 46 Aston Martin Team TGM, the car that Owen Trinkler heroically drove at Daytona to that 3rd place finish. It looks like Paul Holton's going to be getting fuel, maybe a couple new sticker tires from Michelin, and then sent back out to elongate this opening stint. Also into the pit lane down on Nick's end, I see the Mia McLaren.
Here comes just Lizer. Up it goes on the jacks, the Aston Martin, the McLaren Artura. We also have about the Nova Sport car, the 47 coming in front of me, the Mercedes 78. No driver change, so Lizer staying on 45. Looking around, and whilst we are seeing fuel and tyres, I've yet to see a helmet change either. Obviously, it's they would have to do 2 stops, as we aren't at the minimum 40 minutes yet. So in many ways, they're going to work out where their next stop, whilst having 40 minutes left for the next driver. But it is most of the GS cars, if not all the GS cars, the lead lap, fuel and tyres at my end, and Lizer is already away.
4 tires for Paul Holton. It will be 4 tires for Sean McAllister as well in the Carbon with Peregrine Racing, BMW. Those were the 2 main players that came in from my end of the pit lane, but staying out was RS1 with their Porsche and Stephen McAleer.
Yeah, that's right, Shay. That's the significant one there, the 2nd place car. The next behind the leader came in, the 2nd place car did not. Everybody else came into the pits all the way down to the 10th, what was the 10th place car. That was Riley Dickinson, or excuse me, Michael McCarthy in the Riley Porsche 718. And that is the car that won the opening race of the season on a different strategy to just about everybody else. And brilliant fuel saving by Riley Dickinson, who had to save 4 laps worth of fuel over the final 52 minutes of that race. Did so and had enough left to come around into victory lane as well. And then he said there was about half a water bottle worth of fuel after that. So it was beautifully judged by him, and I was chatting to him this morning about that actually with Riley Dickinson. He was saying, I said, yeah, have you ever had to save fuel before? No, it was a short answer. So it was a crash course in learning how to save fuel. He did a brilliant job at it, and was one of only a couple of cars to stretch that fuel load to the end of the race and ultimately win it. So it's interesting then that the Riley team, which is one of the best decision makers on pit lane, should elect to stay out during this pit stop, along with the former championship winning team, the number 28, the RS1 Porsche.
Another problem for Jim McKillian's Mustang, having been in the pits already after the incident where it got bashed up down at turn number 7, wasn't it? That was when the Random Vandals BMW accosted it. Looks like Control-Alt-Delete going on. I can see lights going on and off at the front of the car. Just on that point, Jeremy, about to pit or not to pit for GS here, it gives you a strategic opening in some respects. It opens the window for what you do from here on. But in terms of how many times you have to come down the pit lane, it probably doesn't change anything. It doesn't actually give you an advantage right now. It might play into one later on, but that's what you've got to decide. Do you take now the opportunity to stay out, take the track position, and then wait until the 40 minutes are up before you change? And that's what will have been discussed down on the pit lane. Here come the TCRs. Nick Damon has the leaders coming to him.
And one of the leaders, 17 cars going past you down towards Shea, as is the Gottsnacker, just mostly the TCR sitting more down the other end. I've got a couple of the lower Hyundais, the 76 and the 98, and to my left we have the other Hyundai. I think it's all your action, Shea.
There's a lot going on down here for sure. Our leader, which was the 33 at the time of the caution, has come in for new tires for the Brian Hurd Autosports Hyundai of Harry Gottsnacker. Also, our leader slightly before the caution came out, just a little bit too much before, was the 17 Unitronics JDC Audi. This is Chris Miller. New front tires for both of those cars. New fronts also for Taylor Hagler in the number 77 BHA Hyundai. Best qualifying effort of her career for Taylor, so she was very proud coming into today's race. And also already in the fast lane and having to dodge around a little bit, the number 98 Hyundai, that's Mason Filippi. Great advantage for some really great pit work. Managed to jump the 17 Audi on pit stops, and the 17 Audi still having a lot of trouble making it into the fast lane, trapped in the transition lane almost until the Michelin RFID readers.
Lost 2 places there. If there wasn't contact on that scramble for the TCR leaders out of the pit, it was very, very close indeed, as the JDC Unitronics car popped out, and that might have been a time stop for the cars around it. It looked like one of the Hondas that got in front as well, so that is going to be very, very interesting to see how that is officiated. Yeah, it was indeed the Honda. So that's 2 places dropped there. Came in second, comes out in 4th for the Unitronics Audi, Jeremy.
Yeah, and several cars, as we heard, they did not pit in TCR. And I'm not surprised, really, because an hour and 21 minutes to go, you certainly can't get to the end of the race from there. Plus, of course, they haven't made their mandatory driver change, because the minimum drive time is 40 minutes in this race, and we're coming up now, we're only a minute and a half away from it, so we could see some cars coming in before we go back to green. If the cleanup hasn't been completed by then they can make their driver change, and they might even be not on the tail end of the pack when we get to restart, but they will have made their change, and that'll be beneficial for them.
Good news from the pit lane, Shay Adam.
Windward is back. They were behind the wall. They made the fix to the suspension. And that's the sound of Bryce Roard rumbling back out onto the racetrack. Good job, guys.
Absolutely nothing
but
to
they're
do
now 4
with
laps
him.
down, so.
Yeah, and he'll be a bit disappointed with that after starting the season so brightly. The 88 Archangel Aston is on the rollback now. It's taken a wee while. And Frank Depew moving slowly in the 71 car.
He should have been in 4th position because he did not make a pit stop.
No, and you wouldn't expect him to. He'll wait until now.
Oh, well, I tell you what he's trying to do. He's trying to wait for the 40 minutes to be elapsed. He's got 22 seconds to go.
That's a bit, I'm not sure that's...
I don't think that's going to quite work.
No, indeed so.
Unless he parked it right before the pit entrance.
So Stephen McAleer, Tom Collingwood, Jay Pedersen.
Well, 40 minutes
is up now.
And he probably...
It's up.
Is he just coming into the pits now? I think number 61 car is doing the same. It is Gavin Ernstone. He parked it on the outside of turn 17 there.
And that would have been Gavin Ernstone, who is now coming in. So this was waiting for the 40 minutes. Let's go to Nick's end of the pits first.
Yeah, kind of. The most obvious taker was the Alfa Romeo. Can't miss that number 5 car. We also have the 31, which is one of the many Caymans. Behind it, I can see is a black TCR that appears to have missed its pit stop, and then there's the green and maybe the Rebel Rock car. I'm not quite sure that's exactly the right part of the track for it to be in, but that's right down the far end with the green Aston with the red accents. So there are about about 5 takers my end. Shay, your end?
I don't have anyone, Nick. They were all down in your end to play.
Okay, let's go through those then. For those of you who are keeping track here, Gavin Ernstone brought the Roadshagger Racing Audi into the pit lane. He'll be getting out. Frank Depew brought the dark green number 71 Rebel Rock Racing Aston in. Michael McCarthy brought the Porsche 718, the number 91 in for Kelly Moss with Riley. And I think Steve Ike brought the Hart Honda in again. Yes, he did. And Chad Gilsinger has got into that car. So I'm not sure, Jeremy, how that's going to be looked on, though, when you're under yellow, slowing down and waving people past you. I like what Gavin did. He just pulled out the way.
Pulled right out of the way, yeah. Yeah, I mean, so did Frank Depew. I mean, he pulled right to the inside going down the Ullman Straight. So I don't think it'll be a problem, probably, for the race control. I wouldn't anticipate so. But the interesting one there really is number 91 car, which I think came in. I don't think he did the same thing. I think he came in on cue, didn't he?
Who was that?
The number 91 car, Michael McCarthy. He'll be handing that car over to
Riley Dickinson. Yeah, Riley Dickinson's just gone out.
I'm not sure whether he would have completed that full 40 minutes.
Right.
Because he was. I didn't see whether he slowed down enough to have completed the full 40 minutes before making it onto pit lane. So we'll have to wait and see what the scoring says. But the other sort of kind of gainer in this sequence, if you like, at least for now, is number 34 car of JMF Motorsports. Mackay Stevens will take the restart in 4th position, and the first of the cars that has not yet pitted. But right behind him will be Jesse Lazar in the McLaren, and then Moise Uretsky in number 44 Baby Bull Porsche that has made a pit stop. That was a quick stop for them then. But of course, that was that they have not made the driver change. So
yeah, exactly.
So aboard there, and yeah, the first of the teams that will have made a driver change will be
at the front
Sean
of the field.
McAllister. No, scratch that.
I suspect because
Robin Liddell probably.
Yeah, we're going to get a huge amount of cars coming back into the pit lane here. Nick Damon has got a slew of cars at the end of his pit lane.
Yeah, absolutely. There's 3 Caymans coming towards me, the 38, the 21 and the 44, so we're going to pick up the Random Vandals car as well, the number 9 Aston Martin. Obviously this is the safe point, isn't it, to come in, because you've definitely done 40 minutes. There goes one of the T-Team GGMs, the 64 car. That's the Ted Giovanni's car that's going up towards Shea. So this time, Shea, I think you're getting all the cars. I'm only getting a couple.
I've only got a couple of cars really worth talking about as far as the championship is concerned. One of them was the car that was in from the TCR lead. Now remember, this car came in and they changed the front tires. That's the 17 Unitronic JDC Audi. Race winner at Daytona, championship leader coming into today's race. They've already done all the work on the car, and as Chris Miller was getting out, the car rolled back significantly before Mikey Taylor could actually climb aboard. Pit stops are done for both the 44, that is the Baby Bull Racing, now it's Michael Cooper behind the wheel, taking over from Moisey Uretsky, but the 17 is doing driver change only, so this is their second stop, but effectively they only did 1 service. The 98 is also in, I think that's Mason Filippi jumping out, and our very favorite Canadian TCR champion, that would be Mark Wilkins, taking over. Actually, I can't say that because Robbie Wickens won it last year, and Robbie, I apologize, you're Canadian, so I was dual favorite, then we'll say. And also into the pit lane, the number 38 BGB Motorsport. Now this one's interesting because Tom Collingwood has completed his driving time, and now it's all up to Spencer Pompelli. And Spencer told me earlier in the week his son gave him a special pair of sunglasses, and he thinks that they might just be a lucky charm. I guess we got to wait out.
Lights are out on the safety car, but we've got an intervention vehicle on the front straight. I think that's just repositioning to the end of the start-finish line, one of the cars. We're going to go back green shortly, but Jeremy, we've got a guest here that we'll have a quick word with before we go back to green. He's been doing some good work with Kenton King as a driver coach.
Good to see Eric Filgueras here, and Eric, you've had some success in this series in the past. I know you'd love to be out there on the racetrack, but home is not far away from you. You're at Cocoa Beach, aren't you? So what's that, a couple of hours or so?
Yeah, well, thanks so much for having me. Doing a really good job this weekend as Kenton King. It's his first Carrera Cup weekend. I'm originally from Cocoa Beach, currently reside in Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Still not that bad a drive up, in
No.
fairness, Eric. You know this series, you know this circuit very well. What does it take in these 2-hour races in particular, where all your plans can be thrown completely out of kilter by an oddly timed safety car?
Yeah, well, Pilot Challenge has often been described to me as a bar fight. You have a lot of really great drivers and very, very closely BOP'd manufactured race cars. So it's going to be really interesting. An hour and 13 minutes left. Strategy is going to come into play here with the cars that have already pitted. Here we go, green flag.
And it will be Stephen McAleer. There's a whole bunch of cars that are halfway round the circuit, having made a second pit stop after the 40-minute mark. And we are back to green flag racing now. McAleer feels confident, goes for the racing line down the inside. Here comes Jesse Lazare in the Motorsport in Action McLaren Artura. Mackay Stevens in the JMF sort of red, white and black AMG sits in second at the moment. That's another nice clean start. Air temperature's dropped a degree or 2. Track temperature staying around about 79 Fahrenheit or 26 Celsius, which doesn't seem that high for the air temperature, but remember there's a lot of very light coloured concrete here down at turn 7. Are we going to play it nicely this time around? The 2-turner BMWs have moved up into the top 10. Dylan McAvan in 6th in the 95 car, and Francis Seltorf still behind the wheel of the number 96 in 8th position. Josh Green, who was in the sharp end of things, is down to 10th. Outside, working outside the pit box for Starcom Racing. Andy Lally will have to come down the pit lane as a drive-through in that bright yellow machine. Well, they are new to the championship. There's also a bit of hip and shoulder going on the far side of the circuit, and the Toyota comes off the worst.
Big moment for Michael Cooper here over the bumps. Just gets crossed up right into the Toyota.
And that is going to be another full course yellow. Eric Filgueros joining Jeremy Shaw and me, John Hindhaugh, in the booth. That looks pretty bad for Michael in the Porsche there, but ultimately, if your Michelin tyres aren't on the ground, Eric, how much control have you got over the car?
Yeah, these Michelin tires work really well, we know, but especially when they're on the ground. So tough over the bumps. We know turn 1, turn 17, 2 iconic corners, and especially if you try to pinch the radius as you're adding speed over them, the car doesn't really seem to like it. So just a little bit of a moment for Michael there. We know he's a veteran not only in this series, but other series as well.
Another penalty from the last set of pit stops. The Roadshagger Racing Audi wheel rotation while on the jacks. That'll be a drive-through as well. Eric, whilst you're here, let's have a quick chat. You're doing this driver coaching at the moment. What does that actually mean? Explain to the people listening and watching. You're not saying to them, turn left a bit here, turn right a bit here, are you?
It's a little bit of everything. Certainly in this case with the pupil that I have for this weekend is somebody who has competed in a lower level one-make series in the past, Porsche Sprint Challenge, and is moving up to Porsche Carrera Cup North America. And so for somebody like him, it's more than just driving the car. It's the flow of the weekend. It's understanding what it's going to take to keep yourself mentally prepared. Because you don't get that much time when you enter a pro weekend like this. It's a couple of practice sessions right into qualifying, and you need to be sharp for it. So the mental game is really important.
And is that also looking at data and working out run plans with the team and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And for Kenton, who I'm coaching, he has really great resources in MDK Motorsports and 6 other teammates on the team. Lots of engineering staff, so he can bounce a lot of ideas for what he needs to get out of the car. And my goal is to help him with my experience and, again, how to approach the weekend each session. He does a really good job of his own personal fitness and routines and things like that. So I've got a really great student. He's got a lot to learn, and he realizes this, but he's up for the task. So a lot of little different things having to do with the driving and the off-track activity as well.
A rather battered Cupra in the pit lane, and that incident with Michael Cooper, Supra and Cooper got together. The Baby Bull Racing driver in the 44. That is being looked at the moment. The number 6 car of the Cupra rather has Toyota Supra GR. That car has come off very much the work. When are we going to see you back racing again, Eric? That's the thing.
I'd love to be back as soon as possible. I am competing with a gentleman driver in another GT4 series in the United States.
Sorry,
so I'm excited to be doing
that. We're all
that.
right. IMSA aren't, they're not worried about that. They're very confident. They put out their 2025 scheduled today. Have you ever seen anything like that?
I was very surprised to see that this early in the year.
It's magnificent, isn't it?
It's fantastic. IMSA just has so much momentum going for them. So I'll be competing in SRO GT4 America in Pro-Am, a series that Stephen Meckler, who is currently leading this race, he and I have won that championship in 2022. We won 11 out of 14 races, won the SRO GT3 championship together. So I love seeing Stephen in this RS1 Cayman, always cheering for these guys, even if I can't be in the car. And they know what they're doing with the car. They have a really great platform, a lot of experience. Trent Hinman, 2 golds. Together in the same car, which is unheard of. Typically you see a gentleman driver pro pairing, but strategy comes into play. There's BOP in this series, as we all know and talk about, and so the way that these cars drive is different. The way that they're BOP'd is different, but there's also different things like the fuel capacity, and so we've seen that before with strategy. We've got almost half the field of these GS cars that have pitted, the other half who haven't, and we'll see as things unfold how it plays out.
When are you next
pretty much all made a pit stop now,
yeah,
just at completely different times.
Different times, yeah, that's the thing. So when does your season, when you're next back in behind the wheel?
That will start at Sonoma the first week of April.
Oh, I do miss going to Sonoma, lovely part of the world. Very challenging racetrack as well. What else are you doing in the meantime to keep yourself fit and to keep your mental capacity up? Are you one of these people who does sim work?
My personal sim at home, which is, it sounds extravagant. It's not. It's just something I can keep sharp with. Personal fitness is really important, but also staying on the road, coaching the different coaching customers, current teammate that I'll have this year as well, getting him up to speed. So, you know, a lot of that has really kept me sharp, but also the things that I've learned from Steven in the last couple of years, who is a series veteran, but also a veteran of the sport, and the things that he's learned, not only with his driving, but as a business owner, owning a team in MX5 Cup with Chad McCumbee. Really sharp guy, who's taught me a lot.
I love MX5. It's one of my highlights of the weekend. Last question, and the seriousness, we're talking there about a 2025 calendar that came out this morning. How much of an advantage is that for somebody like you who is looking to plan ahead? That gives you presumably just a bit more time to put the effort in, to find a drive, to identify where you might want to be. It can't be a bad thing, surely.
Oh, it's completely an advantage. You know, when you're talking about partners that could potentially come on board for a racing program, and you already have the entire map laid out for the season, geographically where you'll know, where you know you'll be, if there are strategic partners that certain areas of the country are benefiting or benefit their business, whether it's a B2B thing or somebody that you know that you're partnering with already, who's sponsoring you, that has interest in that particular market, all sorts of different things. So yeah, it's nothing but a benefit.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
Let's see you in a car next time.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
Eric Filgueras joining us. The number 66 Supra has gone behind the wall. This is a short yellow, Jeremy.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily short in time, because we've still got to go through a couple of things. It means it's been a short time since the last yellow, so slightly different procedures, including the pit lane not opening.
Correct, yeah. It's deemed a short yellow by race control, and that means we don't go through the pit opening sequence where drivers are able to make pit stops. They're not allowed to make a pit stop right now, basically. If they do, it's for emergency reasons only. The other thing that you might have seen on the racetrack, if you're new to IMSA, you'll see some cars maybe going past, you're shuffling around in the pack. Yeah, generally speaking, there's no passing under yellows. But what we do now to get ready for the restart is get all the GS cars, which are generally quicker than the TCRs, ahead of the TCRs for the restart. So all the cars on the lead lap in GS are nose to tail here, getting ready for the restart. It'll be Stephen McAleer, who's yet to make a pit stop. He's one of only, I think that's the only car actually that has not yet been on pit lane. There's maybe one more. Victor Gonzalez hasn't been either in kind of a 99. It's running second in TCR. Everybody else has made their pit stop. So
except for Stephen McAleer.
Except for Stephen McAleer. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Some of the teams now, quite a few of the teams have made their driver changes, but a lot have not. So again, there's a lot of strategy to be played out in the remaining an hour and 3 minutes.
Let's get down to the BD or pit lane reporters. Nick Damon can give us a driver's eye view. Well, he can't, but he can ask somebody.
With Mason Filippi at the 98. Mason, no, you got out at 41 minutes. I don't take it that was the original plan.
No, but you know, we're here at Sebring. It's hot, and these yellows might start creating yellows, and so we want to shorten up those pit stops as we go, and trust Chris all the way, our engineers, and we'll see how the race goes. Mark Wilkins will do a great job bringing it home.
It was interesting. We had a few cars come in the lap before, which was right on the cusp of the 40 minutes. Were you worried that you were going to be too early if you came in that previous lap?
I'm not sure, but you don't want to take those risks, right? If you miss it by 2 seconds, then we've seen people lose the race before in the past. So definitely being important, being on time and having that little bit of buffer is important here.
So moving forward, obviously you've changed the tyres, you've sent the driver out. Can you get to the end of the race now with this fuel and these tyres?
That's a good question. About to get back up on the timing box and find out.
Thanks, Mason.
Mason Filippi, it's going to be close. There's an hour and 2 minutes to go. We'll go back to grid this time. We have a couple of little questions about times and whether another pit stop is due for one or two of the cars. And our BT or pit lane crew, I'm sure, will be all over that. As everyone is lined up beautifully. They're down at turn 7 now. So all of the 22 remaining GSs are at the front of the field. And then it's 14 of the TCRs. Actually, I should say 25. So Olivia Rivera overlooking the VGRT strategy.
We've got 22 GS cars still on the lead lap.
Correct.
In this race. The
Yeah,
cars
of
are
24, yes.
Of 26 actually. So the 4 cars that aren't is number 66 car was in the pits a little while ago. Bryce Ward,
yeah.
number 57, had that problem earlier on. He's 4 laps down still. Number 59 Ford we saw have a problem. I think he's I'm not sure whether he's out there or not. And then of course Todd Coleman, number 88 Aston Martin. That car's also out of the race.
Bryce and Bob back on the track though.
Good.
And are circulating at the back of that field. They will be in front of the TCR cars, but of course, as Jeremy rightly says, they've dropped laps to the leaders.
Several laps. So they're not going to get those back. So it's going to be a sort of a fruitless day. But hey, Bryce will be having some fun at least.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
Extended test session.
There you go.
And both of those guys, you know, they'll take the time behind the wheel and they'll get something out of it. I'm absolutely certain.
So almost exactly halfway through the race.
So will anybody peel off into the pits, as the pits will be open as they come round with exactly half distance. We're into the second hour of the Alan J Automotive Network 120. Green flag is in the air and we are back to full speed racing. McAleer jumps away from the front of the field. And here are the stoppers. I thought there'd be a couple. Nick Damon, I'll keep an eye on the battles at the front of the field. Who have you got coming in?
Well, I walked down to ask questions of Rebel Rock about their driver time. Well, they actually come in and just done a top-up as well, but that won't affect the driver change time, so I've still got to find that on the 71. The Van der Stor Racing 19 GS car, that's actually a problem getting... Oh, that's unfortunate for that car, the Haas-Klot and Van der Stor machine. They've got a problem waiting to go. Doesn't sound quite right as it left there, actually. It sounded a bit like it wasn't firing all the cylinders. It took a bit to go, but it has left now, and they did do their driver change at that point. So Van Stor got out and Klot got in. But yeah, so that's a couple of our end.
And on my end of the pit lane, 2 significant TCR pit stops, front tire changes for both of these cars, the number 99 VGRT Hyundai. It is no longer VG behind the wheel, it is now TG. Tyler Gonzalez already with the race win this weekend in Mazda MX-5 Cup, the Whelen Series. He is now taken over, and 2 pit boxes in front of him. It is our joint favorite Canadian TCR champion, sorry about that again, Robbie Wickens taking over for Harry Gottsacker. Harry with the hero stint to start off today.
Michael Cooper has been adjudged the aggressor in the Baby Bull Racing Porsche, bouncing through turn number 1 and hitting the Toyota GR Supra, and he will have to come back through the pit lane now that we are green. Meantime, in TCR, the number 89 Hart Honda pushed a little bit wide at turn number 3, did a bit of grass tracking there. Chad Gilsinger behind the wheel. He was battling, I think, with Morgan Burkhardt in the, is that the number 80 car that went through? Yes,
yeah,
it was.
Morgan's already made, that car's already made a pit stop. And interestingly, Morgan Burkhardt, who first drove a race car, his dad's race car, 2 years ago yesterday, has both his mum and dad are working on the car during the pit stop. Well, they're over the wall during the pit stop. Mum is doing the dead man on the fuel valve, and dad is manning the fire extinguisher. I think that's a pretty cool story for the Burkhardts.
Battle for the lead at the head of the field, then in GS and down the inside. Here comes the TGM car in that leading group. Actually, that's just in the second group, isn't it? As Paul Holton goes through into 4th position. Let's make that an off at the side of the road. And this could be yet another car. That's the leader in TCR, the Montreal Motorsport Group Honda Civic. LP Montour behind the wheel. And also moving slowly is the number 77 car, Taylor Hagler, who was second. Now, have they come together? There's a left rear puncture on the Lombardi Honda machine, and the wheel is not even turning because the tyre is jammed up against the bodywork. That was at the exit of turn 1, and they were battling for TCR lead at the time. Oh yeah, I think there's been contact there. LP has moved on. Roadshagger in the pit lane as well, the number 61. That's their drive-through penalty. Remember, they were assessed a penalty for wheel rotation on the jacks. Well, the good news is the right rear is now turning on the number 6 Honda. It is right front flat on Taylor Hagler's car. Right front, left. Oh no, it was right. Yeah, right front, left rear. Yes, that is a bit too much of a coincidence. 4 cars across the track in the midfield. Here come the Turner BMWs making their way through. Jensen Altsman in that battle as well, just a couple of cars ahead of them. Big shake-up as... Was that Altsman diving for the pit lane? I think it was. Yes, it was. The McCumbee Michelin are racing. They think they can go from here. 55 minutes on the clock. Wow. This could be the first of the last pit stops as the grey and blue striped Mustang comes into the pit lane. That is some kind of call, Jeremy. They'll be out with around about 50, maybe 55 minutes to go. That's right on there.
Certainly a stretch.
Yeah.
They're going to be working hard from there to get to the end. Stephen McAleer, of course, hasn't even stopped yet.
Yeah.
So you know, can he? If he can do another
3 or 4 laps.
Well, if he can do another 1 or 2 laps, he should be good to go.
Yeah. Tyre carcass.
Everybody else also has to have a stop. The several cars will need to take on less fuel than others.
How about that? Full course yellow for the tyre carcass from Taylor Hagler's car in the middle of the road. And Jensen Altsman and McCumbee Michelin Racing have absolutely nailed this. That's fantastic. All the other GS cars are going to come in and fill to the end of the race. Stephen McAleer may yet be able to hold on to the lead in the RS1.
Yeah, he'll need a full tank of fuel, though. The others
Good
won't.
point. That is a good point.
But the number 34 car that's running in 3rd position, that needs more fuel than everybody else because that was the first car to come in after an 11 laps. So he'll need the majority of a full fill.
Yeah, that is an absolute full fill for the number 28 Porsche, as Jeremy says. However, Chad McCumbee has just got back out. Oh, hang on, listen to this. Ouch. That is not a nice sound. That is the sound of rubber beating a panel to death, basically. That is, I mean, sometimes strategy is genius. Sometimes you roll the dice and it comes up snake eyes. This time, they have got it absolutely right. Whether they'd seen that incident and were wondering if a yellow was coming, whether they were just looking at the clock and thinking, you know what, we're not a million miles, let's give this a go. But Chad McCumbee has made his stop and is in a fabulous position, having taken over the number 13 Ford Mustang GT4 from Jensen Altsman. Now he needs to hustle round. The pits are closed and the 77 entering a closed pit. They can only do emergency service, so they can only replace the tyre that is flat, and Shea, they're doing more than that.
Read the rule book. They're changing the driver. That is not emergency service. They are actually tearing bodywork off the bottom of the car. That's going to be deemed okay because they're going to say that that would have torn down the new... Oh, it's not bodywork. It's rubber that had wedged itself so well in. It looked like it was originally bolted onto the floor of this Hyundai Elantra. And there's hoses that are coming out. There's a lot of brake ducting that was torn loose by what's left of the tire carcass that is still on the rim. Looks a bit like a Barbie doll that's that somebody's cut all the hair off and stuck out in all the wrong directions. It's not a very pretty sight. That's the sound of the number 6 Honda going back out. Going to be a little bit more work, but this will be a more substantial penalty for the 77 Hyundai because they changed the driver.
Did the number 6 Honda just fix the left rear tyre, do we know?
That was down on Nick's end. I couldn't actually see.
Well, see if Nick can find out whether that is going to be Nick Damon.
Yeah, that was actually better. I think it was Shay couldn't see it because it's about 3 garages back from the 77. But yeah, they just came in and checked. From what I was watching, they just changed and repaired that rear right.
Well, that'll be fine. Left rear was on that car, front right on the Hyundai. I think that'll be all right. It is under review at the moment, that incident between those two. It was a battle for the lead going into turn 1 in TCR. Pits have been opened now. Yes, it's a short amount of time since the last yellow, but this bears being explained, Jeremy. You don't have 2 short yellows together. So
yeah,
if there are 3 yellows that come in pretty quick succession, the middle one likely to be a short yellow, therefore you don't open the pits. However, a subsequent yellow will then follow the normal procedure.
Yeah. So now we're going to see
all the GS cars.
Pretty busy. Yeah, pretty much all the GS cars. Yeah, I would suggest would come in. There might be a couple that might take a gamble and try and stay out. And if there's more cautions, maybe they can stretch their fuel to get to the end.
I honestly.
The number 13 car, that Ford Mustang that you talked about just a few moments ago, that's in 32nd position at the moment. It won't be in a lap or 2.
Do you think not? No. Is that a confident prediction, Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
I don't see what you gain.
32nd overall.
Yeah. I don't see what you gain here if you're a GS car and don't come in. Unless you think, and this is genuine, unless you think you can go to the end with what you've got.
Yeah, I mean, if there's another full course caution or 2,
oh, yeah, all right.
Then
yeah, all right.
That's yeah.
Where's Robin Liddell?
Yeah, quite. I very much doubt he'll come in.
Well, no, he splashed just before the caution, didn't he?
Right. Yeah, he won't
come in. And I've got a feeling that there was somebody else. It was Valentin Haas-Clos, wasn't it? Van der Steur. They splashed as well. All right. Everybody comes in. Whoever speaks first gets to call the stop. Nick Damon.
I can see the Justin Desire stop is a full service. I'm just waiting to see if any of the GS cars have gone past me. No, the first car to go past me actually is the TCR. By past me, I mean actually on the racing surface. As you say, every single GS car seems to be a taker. I think the ones which are going past now were the ones, as you say, Rebel Rock and the cars which came in a lap ago, but they were behind several of the TCR cars. It's full service pretty much all round here. Certainly, obviously, they've got to top them up, and the drivers who need to be changed are being changed as well. Interestingly, the car that came in second, which is that McLaren with Lazaire, the window, the doors come up. The doors come up. He's driving around. Second slam. Luckily, there's a bit of a string to pull down the butterfly doors, but that's gone out. That's lost a lot of positions in the pit lane, John. Both of the Turner BMWs, for example, got past that car, so it won't be coming out in second, that's for sure.
No, and that's because, also, of course, the RS1 Porsche will have lost places because they needed so much more fuel, having not stopped at all. So it'll be down to the fuel fills.
That's exactly it, John, or what it should have been. But what it actually was waiting on was the tire change. There was a little bit of a struggle with the right front tire, getting it seated properly and attached. And Trent Hinman has taken over that car. They've gone out, I think, at least in 15th position. I lost count of all the cars that went out. The first car was Riley Dickinson in that Porsche that won the last race on a fuel run. But we also had a very significant pit stopper in the Carbon Autosport car. That car, which has now Jeff Westphal behind the wheel, 2 times a race winner in GS in this very 2-hour contest, the Allen J120. Significant rear damage to that car when Sean McAllister brought it in. The left rear of the bumper was actually hanging loose, and the worrying part, it jarred part of the floor loose too, and one of the mechanics was putting some bare bond tape on the car when Jeff actually engaged it in gear and pulled away. Now, it won't be a penalty because there wasn't equipment attached, but I do want to make sure that the mechanic's okay, because that looked rather painful.
Thank you, Shay. BDO pit lane team. Now, which was the car, Jeremy, that you...
Kelly Moss with Riley, car number 91.
Yes.
Trying to figure out whether that has met the 40-minute requirement.
Right, okay.
I don't think I have any information on my scoring as to whether it'll show that.
Shay Adam, a couple of people tweeting in at IMSA Radio about the live timing. What's the easiest way to do that?
Results.imsa.com, but there is nothing on there to show you drive time.
No.
that is something that IMSA keeps track of on their little pit stand. I could walk down and see if Jeff Mishtawi's down there, and maybe if he could give us the answer. Would you like a quick chat maybe with Harry Gotzacker before we get any more pit stoppers?
Yes, and I can tell you that 91 Porsche was the first of the driver change with McCarthy, had done 40 minutes and 3 seconds.
Oh, okay, fine.
So you're right, Jeremy, it was tight. It was worth a check.
They must have stopped them before they came into pit lane, same as the other few.
Yeah, absolutely.
I figured they would have done because Bill Riley is really smart.
Yes, he is. Let's hear from Harry Gotzacker in this BDO pit lane report.
Harry, there's some really good battling out there on track. Traffic giveth and it taketh away, but you and Chris Miller going back and forth. More important for you to lead laps, though, because of the Arnold Palmer's Children's Hospital. Every time that you led a lap, that was $100 to charity. You did your part out there.
Yeah, it's an incredible program. Super happy to be able to donating money to the Arnold Palmer Children's Hospital for the Hyundai Hope on Wheels. Our launcher end is really, really fast, and yeah, me and Chris, we were battling out really good, clean racing. It gets a little dicey in the traffic with some of the GS cars, but it's all good fun, you know. Track was nice and greasy. I think our Hyundai launcher end's a hot rod right now.
What do you think is going to be the key for Robbie to keep it ahead of the Audi as the closing stages of this race?
I'm pretty confident. I think our car's really, really fast right now, so this is all up to him now.
He's a series champion, but he didn't get a win last year. Hopefully that changes right now. Good luck, Harry.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Very polite young man.
So the two cars, well, I was going to say that before, the two cars that stayed out during this course in GS, actually three, are the number 44, which is Michael Cooper, of course, had that penalty a little while ago. That might have worked in his favour. Number 71 car, Robin Liddell, that came in flat splash, as you talked about, John Heinhoff, just a few minutes ago. Jackson Lee, also in number 2, Zabok Simpson car, did not come in during this stop. And the number 19 car that also, I think, made a splash a little while ago as well. So they stayed out, and then behind that's the top 4 then in GS once the TCRs get out of the way, because before we go back to green, once again the field will be reset with the GS cars ahead of all the TCRs. So 5th in line in TCR will be that number 13 car, the Ford, that should have basically no fuel concerns whatsoever. It'll certainly have a lot less than the number 71 car that came in 2 laps earlier. And then behind him is number 91, Riley Dickinson. And then is Vesco Kozrov in car number 21, the Reardon Racing Porsche. It's a whole string of BMWs, number 92, number 96, number 95, and number 39, all in a row. Then Rob Ecklin, the bronze category leader in the automatic racing Aston Martin. And then finally, the number 69 McLaren Artura GT4 of Michael De Quesada. And we have to go, where's the number 28 car, Trent Hinman, is 4 or 5 places behind him, so he's going to have a heck of a lot of work to do at the restart.
Yeah, 18th in class in that RS1 machine. They rolled the dice, didn't quite work for them on that. In terms of track position, but they won't have to stop again. We are coming back to green. Let's have a quick word with Jesse Lazare.
Jesse, a fantastic battle in that good green field, but with traffic giving, traffic taking away.
No, honestly, the stint was really, you know, I couldn't make a mistake out there. The 28 was completely on my tail, so one little error, he definitely would have went by. We came in to just, you know, for strategy to give us a little bit more fuel, and I couldn't really get by him when it was my turn to be behind. So it's definitely going to come down to the last few laps to see who's going to win this race.
Great stuff, Jesse.
Perfect timing from Jesse and from Nick Damon in that BDO pit lane report as we go back to green with 42 minutes to go. And a great restart there by Robin Liddell. He tried to have a look down the inside of Michael Cooper and the Baby Bull racing machine. quite get through past that multicoloured Porsche. Robin in the dark green Evo version of the new Aston Martin Vantage. We could chat with him yesterday in Sheppers, having a very healthy breakfast he was. Actually, no, that was this morning. A very healthy breakfast he was having. And seeing how impressed he is with that Aston Martin. Frank Depew getting up to speed in the car. And once again, they have played the game perfectly. We've got a raft of penalties coming through, including for Stephen Cameron Racing, pit lane protocol violation. That will be Gregory Leofouge who has to serve that one. Similar penalty for the 64 Hugh Plum Team TGM car. That'll have to come down pit lane again. And a speeding penalty on pit lane as well. That for the number 78, the Thays AMG. So those cars will have to come through. And also closed pit penalty violations for the number 77 Hyundai and also the Civic as well when they were in. So they must have done more than just changed the tyre on that Civic. So those were the cars that were battling for the lead when they came together. Still waiting to see if there's any penalty regarding that contact as well. That will be a stop plus 60. Stop plus a minute for those two cars. That's been very, very costly indeed for two cars that were right at the sharp end of things when it all went very, very wrong for them. So now we've got that out of the way, let's concentrate on what's going on at the front of the field. The multicoloured Baby Bull Racing Porsche. Michael Cooper already had a little side swipe of a competitor when he was bouncing through turn one, had to come down through pit lane for the penalty. Robin Liddell looking to the left-hand side of the circuit down at turn 7. That would be the wrong side of the circuit in that respect. Valentin Asclot sitting right in behind in the Aston Martin. No, it's not actually. That must be a lapped car in there.
Which one where?
As we've had the Team TGM off at turn 1 doing a bit of grass tracking, but held on to it. That was the 46 rather than the 64, because that car's in more clear air. So let's see if we can pick out who that is. It is the 91 Porsche that is Riley Dickinson. So he's fought his way through into third position on the restart.
He was 6th just a lap or so ago.
So it is 2 Aston Martins in the top 3 now, as
and Jackson Lee trying to hang on to 4th position with the Ford Mustang looming large in his mirrors as they head down into Sunset Bend. Before the lead, Robin Liddell looks to the inside of Michael Cooper.
Yeah, it is Valentin Asclot in 3rd position. My apologies. Looking at a different battle for a moment. Here comes Liddell to the right-hand side, the high side, going into turn 1. The cut back is on. Can he get down the inside? He goes earlier than I expected. Valentin Asclot in the slightly older version of the Aston, the blue and white car, the 3rd of those machines. Meantime, Chad McCumbee has clawed his way through the field as well, and he goes for 4th and gets 4th. Ahead of Jackson Lee in the Sebring Simpson Motorsport Porsche. So here we are at the front of the field, and 2 former GM factory drivers in the shape of Michael Cooper and Robin Liddell, with Valentin Asclot Valentin joined us in the booth at Qatar for the WEC a couple of weekends ago. He was there as doing his driver coaching duties and helping the team. Great insights from that young man. Really impressive. Chad McCumbee confirmed in 4th position.
Of the race did Valentin Asseclo.
That doesn't surprise me at all, Jeremy, and he's just done that in a very measured way as he's watching the battle ahead of him, and he's not using as much road as either of the cars ahead of him. He's got a good car underneath him.
That's the older Aston Martin, of course, and the newer one, the Evo version, directly ahead of him in the hands of Robin Liddell.
Liddell will be absolutely loving this. Loves the scrap.
All of these three guys will be loving the scrap.
True,
I can tell you that. Michael Cooper in particular for that Baby Bull Racing team out in front at the moment.
Suffering no ill effects from that side-to-side contact with the Supra, excuse me. The GR. Liddell taking a tighter line. Hasclo coming round the outside. He might get a run here on the pair of them as they go side by side out of 17. Which one does he pick? As once again, the number 6 Honda Civic is off the circuit.
Inside towards turn 1.
Here comes Hasclo down the inside. I thought he would get the momentum, and the two Astons go either side of Michael Cooper. And it's Liddell who comes out at the end of turn 1 with the advantage. Really interesting to see the differences in the bodywork of those two GT4 cars. It really is, when you see them together, really is quite noticeable. The front ends of the cars, very different indeed in terms of the aero. So they came out with Cooper in the lead out of 17. He's in the middle of the road. Liddell goes to driver's right. Hasclo goes to left. By then, Cooper can't defend. Hasclo gets towards the apex, but Robin Liddell swooping around the outside in a beautiful manoeuvre. Aston's first and second.
Straight line speed, haven't they?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Normally it's the Porsche that's pretty slippery. It's a tiny little car when compared to the Astons, but boy. Fascinating stuff here. So what we've got 34 minutes remaining in this race. Pretty much everybody should be good to go on fuel. Just look at number 28 car, Trent Hinman. He took the restart in 18th position. He is now up to 12th.
Yes.
I don't think anybody's going to catch Robin Liddell. The BOP, interestingly, for the two Aston Martins is identical in terms of weight and horsepower and everything else, and one has to assume the newer car is slightly better. So Robin Liddell is looking really, really good here in number 71.
The guys at Aston, they have to move to the new body shape, of course, because that's the street car, and it makes sense to do that. But they're in designing the GT4 and GT3, and particularly the GT4, was to make it more user-friendly and operate in a wider window for the non-pro drivers. Yet to see whether that is the case. Battles in the TCR field for 4th position as Tim Lewis in the black number 5 Alpha coming through turn 17 has target acquired on the black and yellow Andy Lally car. Now that car's right back in the fight now, having had some problems earlier on, but the Alpha drafts through and goes to the right-hand side.
Yeah, it's a super battle for 2nd position. Mikey Taylor, winner of the opening round at Daytona, he's got a pretty handy lead now in number 17, a couple of seconds or so, but Morgan Burkhart, the youngster there from, well, just outside of Washington, D.C., holding on to 2nd position for Victor Gonzalez Racing in car number 80, with Chad Gilsinger right behind him in the older version of the Honda Civic, the FK7-bodied TCR car in 3rd position, just ahead of the Alpha. As you say, Andy Lally is right in the thick of it, and this is first time. Andy has driven a front-wheel drive car before. 12 years ago, he drove a Kia in the Old World Challenge Series, and he's loving it, absolutely loving it. Saw him yesterday, driving for Derek Cope, who's one of his old buddies from his NASCAR days. loving it.
So behind Mikey Taylor, who's cleared off, Burkhardt, Gilsinger, Lally, Tim Lewis, Robert Wiggins, Denita Pont. Then John Morley's not that far away either.
Yeah, that's right.
He's about another second further back. So all of those cars are line astern and scrapping away. And at the moment, it looks like Andy Lally, in dealing with Tim Lewis, is just not able to get on terms with Burkhardt and Gilsinger ahead of him. He's about 0.8 of a second away, and off at the 16th of 17 corners for Vesko Kozarov for Riordan Racing in the dark green Porsche. He's rejoined, threw a little more dust in the air. Half an hour to go still here, Jeremy. Plenty of action to come. Live from Sebring, RS2 around the world in sound and vision. 100.9 FM at the circuits. Jeremy Shaw, John Hindhaugh in the Global Broadcast Centre. BDO pit lane reporters, Shea Adam and Nick Damon. And of course, we will have our Michelin moment of the race. Fresh set of brand new Michelin racing rubber to one GS team and one TCR team.
The other guy who's flying right now is Jeff Westphal in car number 39, the car barn with Peregrine Racing number 39 BMW. He's fought his way up from 11th place at the restart, now up into the top 5. Just turned his best lap of the race on 1 minute 11.8.
Bit of bodywork coming off
and the fastest lap of the race, by the way, John, set last on the previous lap was by Trent Hinman in that RS1 Porsche. He's right onto the tail of that big gaggle of cars battling over, well, from, I guess it's 7th on back, but not out of contention yet.
Big bit of bodywork coming off the car barn Jeff Westphal 39 car. They had some damage early on, and another piece flying off at turn 1. This battle in TCR for second on down, with Mikey Taylor having cleared off a little bit. Burkhardt, then Gilsinger, Andy Lally still having the fight with Tim Lewis. Then Robert Wiggins is right there. I'm already thinking that 3 wide for the lead of the race is got to be up there for our GS moment of the race, but then who do you give it to? Out of the, give them a tyre each and keep one for ourselves. And still further problems for the Brian Ortiz Montreal Motorsport. That car going slowly, and also reported in with problems Spencer Pumpelly for BGB Motorsports. That was the green car that the TCR battle just passed, and he's moving slowly at the moment with a flat tyre. Another 3 wide moment going into the first corner, and that's Matt Plum, Riley Dickinson, Michael De Quesada all scrapping away nicely. Quesada goes a little bit wide into turn 3, loses the position to Riley Dickinson, who sneaks through immediately, needed no second invitation. Trent Hinman right up there as well in the RS1 number 28. Red, white and black car. So it was a dive for position from the Motorsport in Action car that just went through too much from Michael De Quesada. Actually, that was on Jackson Lee, wasn't it? On his Porsche, the number 2. He's regained that position.
Battle for second in TCR is wild, isn't it? Long train of cars.
Well, there's a few of them at the moment, so 6th, 7th, yes, etc. on down, with Jackson Lee in the number 2 Porsche, holding off
just
the McLaren.
His best lap of the race.
And he's needing to, because he's under pressure.
However, a couple of seconds behind, slower than the car that's directly ahead of him, pulling away quickly. That's Jeff Westphal, just turned a 2:11.57 for a new best lap for him. Not quite better, not quite as good as Trent Hinman's 2:11.508 on the previous lap.
Incident between Riordan Racing's Vesko Kozarov and what was the other car there? 3.8. under
Spencer
review
Pumpelly.
at the moment. That's the Spencer Pumpelly car that had the flat tyre. And in fact, he's in the pit lane at the moment, Spencer. Just coming down to 26 minutes to go. Looks like the TGM car of Hugh Plum got a good run there.
Yeah, but look at Trent Hinman, he's working his way through that pack, isn't he? He's right behind the McLaren now.
And Spencer,
both of them muscle past Jackson Lee. Excuse me, John.
No, sorry, my fault. Spencer Pumpelly is going to get a penalty if he comes back out of the pit lane. We'll keep an eye on the action on track. Let's hear from, I'm sure, a very interested spectator watching that battle at the sharp end of the field. Stephen McAleer watching his teammate doing a cracking job at the moment in, as I say, at the sharp end of the field as Trent Hinman comes through to 7th position.
Stephen, it's a great thing when you're in first place and it's a yellow flag when the race is almost over, but when you're in first place, you know you got a rocket ship underneath you and you want to go race. How much torture was it to have that much at the beginning of the race under caution?
You know what, yeah, these guys out there were, you know, it wasn't too impressive the last part of my stint. Jesse did a good job in front. You know, we just couldn't match that car in straight line speed. Yeah, Trent's obviously doing a great job here. I'm frustrated. I think we made a mistake coming in at the time that we did. You know, we lost a lot of spots there. Luckily, we have a car that we can get back into the fight. So Trent's doing a hell of a job working his way through it. We have a shot. I wouldn't mind another caution now. That would help us a little bit. But the goal is to try and keep working here. Like I said, RS1, you know, we rolled off the trailer amazing. The car is amazing. You know, Trent has done, you know, well all weekend. And you know, honestly, I think we should be winning this race. So I'll be disappointed if we don't.
Yeah, but full season championship, you got to take the points on offer, right?
Oh yeah, no question. If you look at last year, you know, we thought we were going to win Daytona and we had a tire failure. So we've got to be very careful with that. Coming off Daytona with a P7, we're already sub P7 right now. So of course we want a podium, but the main goal is the championship.
I'll let you get back to watching. Thanks for the chat.
Thank you.
That's going to be very interesting last 20 minutes or thereabouts with Trent Hinman right in behind the Motorsport in Action machine. Trent with the fastest lap of the race with a 2:11.508. That is a quick Porsche, that number 28 machine. And trying to find a variety of ways through. Riley Dickinson on Matt Plum at the moment is where the action is. Matt Plum in the orange, blue and white Team TGM Aston, and the gold and black Porsche in behind him. That is a battle for position, 9th and 10th. Kenton Cook for Random Vandals racing the 92 car in there as well. At the hairpin a moment or two ago, side by side. Oh, that was all a bit unnecessary as the VGRT, Victor Gonzalez Racing Team car, had a little bit of a shunt from the 64 version of the Team TGM. That's Hugh Plum behind the wheel of that car, and it was Tyler Gonzalez in the TCR that got pitched airborne, and that is under review at the moment.
There's a couple of GS cars in that battle. Gregory Leofouge having served that penalty in number 43 car. He's in the thick of that TCR battle, as is Mark Miller, who also had a drive-through, and also Hugh Plum in car number 64. So we've got the number 43, 78 and 64 GS cars trying to work their way through this magnificent battle in TCR. And Chad Gulser and Andy Lally were absolutely alongside each other as they crossed the line last time around.
Yeah, and they have got past. So who have they passed there? Morgan Burkhardt was already ahead of them, but they were fighting for... And it's Chad Gilsinger is still there in third. My apologies. Yeah, then Andy and Tim Lewis, but Gregory Leofouge coming through that, as Jeremy just said there, has just broken that up for a moment or two, and it won't be very long. I just wonder as well if maybe those GS cars can be used to the advantage as they're coming through. Riley Dickinson in the number 91. Excuse me, it is that Gould car. "21 minutes to go." Riley carving his way through traffic in the black gold machine. Kenton Cook, Robbie Forley for Turner Motorsport, Jason Hart another second further back. This is all just on the outskirts of the top 10. We know how things can change. At the front of the field, Robin Liddell has edged away to 1.3 seconds, up 22 positions from where Frank Depew started the race an hour and 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, they've had a little bit of good fortune, certainly, I think, in terms of the timing of the yellows, but they called their strategy absolutely perfectly.
I absolutely agree. Valentin Asclo, he's made the best of what he's got at the moment. He's ahead of Michael Cooper for now, but there's a line of cars behind him. Cooper in the Porsche, the Ford Mustang is Chad McCumbee, the grey and blue car, and then in behind them is the Carbahn BMW. So second, third, fourth and fifth are battling together. The Carbahn car shedding bits of bodywork. It's about every other lap at the moment. Left rear of that car looking very pre-loved. And can't be doing the aero much good either for Jeff Westphal. Then the next group is led by the Motorsport in Action, McLaren Artura and Michael De Quesada. Then Trent Hinman for RS1, about a second behind him. Then there's a big gap back to Team TGM's Matt Plum, about 5 seconds. Then Kenton Cook, and here's the battle. Kenton Cook in the Random Vandals 92, Robbie Forley for Turner Motorsport, the BMW, and Riley Dickinson right there as well in that black and gold number 91. That is 9th, 10th and 11th. No further action for Hugh Plum running into the Victor Gonzalez Racing Honda at the hairpin. Tyler Gonzalez behind the wheel of that, got pitched up in the air, deemed a racing incident by race control. So basically, that's the sort of thing that happens when everybody's diving for the apex.
Yeah.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other, as Michael used to say.
Michael De Quesada in McLaren just set his best lap last time around, 2:11.694, which was a second and a half quicker than the leaders. He's got about 5 seconds behind that leading train. Well, Robin Liddell's got about just over a second over the second, third, fourth and fifth place cars. That's number 19 Aston Martin, Valentin Asclo, Michael Cooper number 44 Porsche, Chad McCumbee in the Ford, and Jeff Westphal's BMW. Good little battle there, and then Michael De Quesada's fast. Trent Hinman is quick, but last time around wasn't able to keep pace with them, but they're edging away pretty rapidly from the rest of the field. It's led by Matt Plum in car number 46.
Chad McCumbee making contact with the back of Valentin Asclo, coming out of the hairpin last time around. As they come to the line again, Robin Liddell by 2 seconds, call it actually 1.8, so he's been closed down a little bit. Michael Cooper back up into second ahead of Valentin Asclo. Then it's Jeff Westphal and Chad McCumbee back down in fifth now. So that little chasing group all changed there. And Cooper in the Porsche back to second place then. After that schmozzle down at the hairpin, turn 7, last time around. Inside 20 minutes now, 17 on the nosy to go. Here comes the BMW of Jeff Westphal. So he's having a look at the back of the Aston Martin. Meantime, in TCR, turn 17. Big dive up the inside by Andy Lally on the Hart Honda. They're side by side. That's Chad Gilsinger holding the inside line. We're going to have 3 wide into turn 1 as they turn in. Lally is absolutely loving this, isn't he? Gilsinger having a good battle. Here comes the black number 5 as well, which is the Hyundai that's in there. That's Robert Wiggins, isn't it? Yeah, Tim Lewis, John Morley's joined onto the end of that. Oh dear me, this could get very, very untidy.
Denny DuPont is in there, and Mark Wilkins as well now.
Now, this is the right side of the road to be on. It is the right side of the road for Andy Lally. He noses ahead in the bright yellow and black machine. New to the championship. Down towards turn 7. He should make this stick. Does make it stick. Gets out of the corner. Stands up the rest of the field. 6 TCRs battling away for what is second, check that, 3rd position. Yeah. in that race.
And the good news is the GS cars have now cleared that group, so they're not a factor anymore. I don't think there's any other TCRs in there right now, so they can just do battle amongst themselves, and will do so.
Morgan Burkhart using the opportunity of that fighting going on behind it. Up and about seconds lead in second place for Victor Gonzalez's number 8
Trent
car.
Hindman?
Hindman has dropping down. Trent Hindman in the RS1, dropping down outside the top 10. Hindman's gone missing. 28 with a flat tyre. Flat tyre. Oh, disaster for what has to be considered one of the championship contenders. Stephen McAleer and Trent Hindman behind the wheel right now. And he is trying to make it back into the pit lane, but with 15 minutes to go, that is an absolute disaster. His charge has come to an end. He's in the pit lane now. BDO pit lane team will pick him up. It's a right front. I can see it now. I think that's going down towards Shear's end.
Yeah, it is, and it does not smell very good either. I can actually get a whiff of it before he gets to his pit box. The carcass has stayed on the rim, so that's good. It looks like there will be no damage to that rim, and RS1 will be able to use it again. And if they drop a new sticker tire over the wall, it's sad consolation for Trent Hindman, what felt like it should have been their day.
Was that side-to-side contact, Shear, did it look like?
The car is undamaged.
Okay, very interesting. Huge slide from John Morley coming out of turn 1 at full speed. I think had that been a rear drive car, he would have been in a bit of trouble there. Yeah. But he was very cool, calm and collected, and got the car pointing in the right direction. Yeah. Straighten the wheels up, flat to the floor.
Mash the right-hand pedal.
Mash to the floor, absolutely right. Let's think back to 2023 with a pass under yellow. Remember that was put the Alpha to the front of the field briefly in the Alan J Automotive Network 120.
And the McLaren is now with that battle for second on back.
A lot of bodywork damage on the 76 Hyundai Elantra, flapping its wing on the actually both sides of the car now. It's not really slowing it down too much. Still running quite well for Denny DuPont and Brian Herter Autosport.
Yeah, Denny DuPont's fast, we know that.
Hey, still this fantastic battle,
great, isn't it?
just at the outskirts of the top 10. Mia
McLaren.
Motorsports McLaren going slowly, coming out of the hairpin at turn 7. That's the 69 car. That was in that top 6 scrap as well. Michael De Quesada dropping away now for Jeff Westphal for Carbon and McCumbee.
Yeah, what happened to the McLaren? Because that had been flying. Caught right up into the tail of that group.
It had indeed, Jeremy.
It looked like it was going to be, with what, 12 minutes, 11 and a half minutes remaining in this race.
I thought it was going to be a contender there.
Yeah.
I wonder how much effect the bodywork damage to the left rear of that carbon BMW is having. Doesn't be slowing it down that much, it just looks untidy. Onto the back straight now, right in behind Valentin Azeclo. This is the battle for third and fourth position. Westphal moves one way, then the other. Azeclo covers him off down to the inside, taking the racing line. That was clever. Didn't actually weave, but what he did was just covered the inside line as he went towards the apex. Behind them, Chad McCumbee in the GT4 trying to get back on terms with them on the Mustang GT4, excuse me. It's the grey car with the dark blue racing stripes, and at the front of the field, Robin Liddell's lead is a second and a half from Michael Cooper, who, since he regained second place, has pulled out about a couple of seconds on the battle behind him, but has not been able to gain on Robin Liddell. Robin and Michael running in the 2:12.5 to 2:13 range, 2:12.8 and 2:12.9 last time around for first and second.
Yeah, I think Liddell should be okay on fuel. I mean, he's the tightest of those in that front group, but he's turning pretty consistent laps, mainly in the 13s. That was the best lap last time around, 12:88, that he's done for quite a while. So I'm pretty sure I'm sure he feels confident that you get to the end from here. Well, in TCR, super job here by young Morgan Burkhardt in second position, and maintaining, not a big gap. It's less than a second over Chad Gilstring and Andy Lally, who are continuing their battle with the defending series champion Robbie Wickens right with them. Then the Alpha, then John Morley, and then Mark Wilkins and Tyler Gonzalez. So it's game on in TCR now with just under 10 minutes remaining. Has to close Van der Steur racing Aston Martin. That seems to be sliding around a little bit more now than it was just a few laps ago.
Just a couple of notes, and thanks to Lee Triggers, who keeps an eye on these sort of things for us. The Honda number 6 TCR, I'll get back to that in a minute, because third place in GS is under threat, as once again Valentin Azeclo had to defend, but by the time he gets to the turning point of turn 17, he's passed, but he gets back up the inside here. That's not over yet, and the Aston driver, wow, that was great thinking by Valentin, and it stayed to drivers left as the Carbon BMW tries to come round the outside, and Chad McCumbee's right there in the Ford. Oh, lovely stuff by these three. We will have our Michelin moment of the race nominees from the broadcast team in a moment, but let's stay on this. I'll just make a couple of notes here. It's not really going to affect the result, but the Montreal Motorsport team will not make driver time for Brian Ortiz. They've taken too many stops, and remember, time in the pit lane does not count towards your driving time. And also in TCR, the Go Racing machine number 55 and the number 93, which is the Carl Whitmer driven Montreal, the other Montreal car, they are very, very close. They cannot come back into the pit lane with 7.5 minutes to go. They shouldn't have to. Now, Valentin Azeclo has been warned for blocking. So that was just over the edge. He's got a snarling pack of GT4 cars. Do my eyes deceive me, or is Robin Liddell being closed down
yes, he is.
by Michael Cooper? Yes, he is. It's just about a second now. It's not much, Jeremy, but whereas it was a second to 2 seconds, it's now 9/10 to about 1.5 seconds, depending on where it is on the track. 6.5 to go. Live from Sebring. Michelin Pilot Challenge. Azeclo Tracer's arrow straight down the Ullman Straight this time, and there was no opportunity for Jeff Westphal, but there goes Chad McCumbee.
Yeah, and the McLaren is closed in again as well. Michael De Quesada, having had that moment just a few laps ago, he's charged up onto the tail of that leading group.
That could be, there's a podium on here for that McLaren with the pace it's got, but it's got to clear these cars, a couple of these cars very, very quickly. And as the great and much missed Murray Walker used to say, catching is one thing, passing is very much another thing altogether. Oh, Asiclo a little bit wide into Tom Christensen corner, turn 3. Robin Liddell just stabilised the gap for a moment at about a second. But all eyes on this battle for the third step of the podium in GS.
Yeah.
Down towards the heavy braking area at turn 7. Hazeklo goes to the right-hand side. He'll have to stay there now. Oh, he's moved back across in the braking area.
He's left a width. He's left a car's width on the outside. I think he'll be okay for that one.
McLaren goes through.
Yeah.
So that's Michael De Quesada up ahead of Chad McCumbee. McCumbee, remember, stopped just before that yellow. Jensen Holtzman getting out of that car. And De Quesada, one more pass, and he's in with a shot of third, I reckon. TCR, Mikey Taylor, Unitronic, Audi. 3 seconds up the road now. Burkhardt just being closed in on a tiny bit by Chad Gilsinger, who's the head of the chasing group now in that 89 Honda FK7.
Pretty equidistant, those top 3 in TCR. Morgan Burkhardt, really, really impressive, that young man. And he's a smart lad out of the car too. Really is aware of what's going on around him, clearly as much in the car as well.
Asiclo moves to the right. That's fine, but he can't now move back. He's gone to the middle of the road. This is going to be testing the judgment of race control. There's been a warning for blocking already for that 19. Oh, the Alpha with a problem. What a shame. 6th position it was for Tim Lewis, and he was right in the scrap for potentially a spot on the podium. With 4 minutes to go, is that car in a safe place? McLaren down the inside of the BMW and hits the BMW, turns it around. That's going to be a penalty, I think. Oh my goodness. Well, I said one more pass for Michael De Quesada, and he was in with a chance of a podium. And Jeff Westphal, the victim there. The McLaren gets a good run off the first corner. Halfway alongside at best.
No, I mean, they were way off the apex, wasn't there? There was a ways off the apex there. And
under review.
Yeah.
And the 44 is going slowly. Michael Cooper has pulled off from 2nd place.
Yeah. Is that fuel then? He was in 1 lap after Robin Liddell in car number 71 and 1 lap before the number 13 Ford, which is was in 6th place. Not sure where it's going to be now.
De Quesada has been given a penalty for that contact. It will be a drive-through for the McLaren. Oh, so much promise. And just a misjudgment there. I don't think that... Well, we know Michael De Quesada, and he's not that type of driver, but he knew that to have a chance to get on the podium, he would have to get past that BMW and set about the Aston Martin of Asiclo.
Yeah, because he's caught up with that group, and we didn't really see, did we, what caused him to lose that ground, 10 laps or so ago?
He was just slow coming out of turn 7, and so I presume there'd been an incident at turn 7 where he'd had a half spin or whatever.
Yeah, quite.
Yeah. Meantime, it's not all over yet.
No.
White flag, 3 3/4 miles for Robin Liddell. We've seen him do it in the Camaro for Rebel Rock, as into the pit lane to serve the penalty for Michael de Quesada. Just came from too far back. He knew how important it was with the laps and the time running out. Didn't get there. We've stayed green with Alpha turn 8. In fact, it's moving again, actually. Tim Lewis has got that car running as the
2 minutes 16.5 last time for Robin Liddell, 3 seconds slower than his previous lap.
That's fine.
Exactly right. He's just managing it from here. You can see the gap to the other Aston Martin behind him,
which is closing down. Azarclaw is on his way. What's he got left? It's Aston Vantage Evo from Aston Vantage at the front of GS, coming to their white flag. The TCR battle is still raging on with Chad Gilsinger, Andy Lally, Robert Wickens is in there as well, and so is John Morley. 2 pairs of 2 battling for third on down. I think Mikey Taylor and Morgan Burgard are safe, but you cannot say that about the last step on the podium. Out of turn 1. Gilsinger with Andy Lally going to the high side, trying to cut back in. Starcom, what a debut for that number 12 team. Andy Lally over the curb on the right, over the curb on the left.
He's having a blast. I can see the grin from here almost.
You can see the grin from Orlando, actually. What a run for Rebel Rock Racing. Robin Liddell took over the car from Frank Depew. Great pit stop strategies, and will come through and take the Alan J Automotive Network 120. The first win for the new Aston Martin Evo, and the Michelin moment of the race in GS also going to that team for the 3 wide pass for the lead going into turn 1. And let's hear from Frank Depew.
Frank, congratulations, a fantastic team effort there, and great strategy to win the race.
Say again?
Great strategy to win the race, Frank. It was great strategy to win the race.
Oh yeah, it was wonderful. I mean, we didn't expect this. You know, we've just had the car for a little while. We've been working on setup, trying to get the car to where we didn't know what the tires would do through the stint. When I was driving, the fronts were completely rooted, you know, and so we weren't even sure about fuel, but we're super happy.
Great stuff, well done.
And the third step on the podium still up for grabs, and Andy Lally, I think, has sneaked through there at the front of the field. It is the number 17 that comes through, the Mikey Taylor driven Unitronics Audi. Second, what a run for the young man Morgan Burkhardt, and Andy Lally for Starcom Racing in their first outing will be on the podium ahead of Chad Gilsinger, and the moment of the race, the Michelin moment of the race in TCR will go to that Starcom team for brilliant racing from Lally all the way through. And the pass down at turn number 7 on the last lap as the Hart machine went a little bit wide. Oh, such a game of inches, but it'd been great entertainment from those 2 brilliant drivers. Michelin moment of the race then for Starcom, the 21 car, for a great debut and great racing from Andy Lally. Let's hear it from his teammate.
Chris Miller, perfect start to the season. 2 races, 2 wins. What do you credit this one to?
I think the team just had the best strategy today. We had a little different strategy than some of our competitors, and Mikey came out in first after all the pit stops cycled through, and yeah, no, we just had a great car. Obviously, we got hit with the BOP adjustment, but the guys went to work and basically just got us a great setup this weekend, and yeah, we've just been strong all weekend, had great strategy, good pit stops, and just super happy.
How great is it to be a winner at this iconic track?
Feels great, actually. I was thinking about that. This is one that I wanted to check off the list and haven't had a ton of success at, so nice to add it to the list, and yeah, we'll look to keep it going in a positive direction the rest of the season.
Congrats.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Well, pick the bones out of that one. Let's hear from Rory van der Steur with Nick Damon in this BTO Pit Lane Report.
Rory, congratulations to the team, a great team effort, and just the right time for that pit stop, but fantastic driving for both of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I was in the yellow, and I made a suggestion to the team to box with about an hour left, and they had a long think about it, and then they said, hey, when it goes green, we box, and that was the right call in the end. And yeah, Val drove a great race. This is why he's here. The move he did into turn 17 was pretty crazy. But overall, just so happy right now. So thankful to the team and everybody who worked so hard for this one. And yeah, I'm just so super happy.
Yes, in case where Valentin kept his head when everyone else was either losing theirs, their car was breaking down. I mean, there were 5 cars in that train. I don't think only he came through unscathed.
Yeah, we told him, honestly, we don't have to finish on the podium because it's a long championship, but the car was a little loose as he dropped a wheel in turn 5 and got past. But we told him we don't have to finish on the podium. We don't have to drive with our like crazy. So I think that really helped with our mindset, his mindset going into the car in the last stint for us to finish on the podium because everyone else was just going crazy.
Roy, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So just to recap our 2 Michelin moments of the race. Great strategy actually from Rebel Rock as well, but you've got to say that outside move when it was 3 wide by Robin Liddell will take the Michelin moment of the race in GS. And Starcom, brilliant debut, great driving from Lally, snagging 3rd right at the end. Jeremy Shaw, let's have a quick look at the points. This is all unofficial at this point. There are going to be some checks made on the leading cars. I have no doubt that they will be very vigorously looked at for fuel capacity, etc., as they went a very long time, but that is absolutely standard operational procedure. As they cross the line, Jeremy, this is how they stand.
Indeed. Robin Liddell and Frank Deputy came in here having placed 9th in the opening race of the season. They will now have 570 points. The winners at Daytona finished 10th today. They will have 560 unofficially. 3rd position in the points will be Francis Seldorf and Robbie Foley. Robbie Foley, of course, last year's champion on 510. And then tied on 450, Dylan McAvern and Robert McGuinness in the 2nd of the Turner Motorsport BMWs, and JMF Motorsports, Jesse Webb and Mackay Stevens, who had another really good run today. Jesse Webb brought that Mercedes home in the 7th position.
And in TCR?
TCR, well, that's nice and easy. Around 700 points for the Chris Miller and Mikey Taylor, 2 wins on the season. 2nd position, the points. That's a bit more tricky, to be perfectly honest. I haven't got that far yet, but I think I think it'll probably be Preston Brown and Denny Dupont with a 6th place finish today. That will give them 570 points. Mason Philippi and Mark Wilkins finished behind them, so won't move ahead. So yeah, I think they'll be 2nd in points.
Here's the unofficial results of the Alan J Automotive Network 120 Round 2 Michelin Pilot Challenge for 2024. It is a debut, a maiden victory for the new version of the Aston Martin Vantage in the hands of Rebel Rock Racing. Frank Depew doing his job early on and handing over to Robin Liddell, who brought it home. Ahead of Van der Steur Racing with a great bit of strategy and driving as well by both their drivers, particularly Valentin Asclo in 2nd, and Chad McCumbee anchored home the Ford Mustang to a brilliant 3rd place. Lots of great driving in that. The TCR battle was just as impressive, with Mikey Taylor driving away from the field in the 2nd half of the race, and Morgan Burghardt for Victor Gonzalez Racing holding on with a lot of pressure behind him from some very impressive drivers. Starcom Racing take their 1st podium in their 1st outing in the championship. Jeremy? Bit untidy to start with, but a nice, 35, 40 minute, little bit more run than that at the end, and we saw some proper racing. That's why we love Michelin Pilot Challenge.
Dead right, yeah. The green for the final time went with 42 minutes remaining, and there was lots of excitement in those final 42 minutes, and a lot of shuffling of positions, a couple of mistakes here and there, but again, another flawless drive there, and once again, Robin Liddell's fuel-saving capabilities on full display.
Great to see 40 cars out on the circuit. We'll have the rest of the season for you here on RS2 IMSA Radio and with the video as well for those of you outside the United States. Thanks very much to our BDO pit lane team of Shay Adam and Nick Damon. Jeremy Shaw was alongside me, John Hindhaugh in the booth. Aaron was in my head. Does he really exist, or is it just a voice I'm hearing? And thanks to all of the rest of our production crew here trackside and up at Concord, as well as Kes Cobb, who was pushing the buttons up in London. I'm John Hindhaugh. Thanks for joining us. Still more action to come from Sebring on Fast Friday.